American politics feels like it is entering a turning point, a moment when the ground under the system is shifting even if most people cannot yet see the full shape of what is coming. The idea that a president could gather too much power is not new. Over the past century, Congress and the courts have repeatedly stepped aside, handing more authority to the executive branch in moments of crisis or convenience. So when people accuse a modern president of having authoritarian impulses, they often overlook that the tools for such a shift have existed for decades. Every president is briefed on emergency plans that, under the right circumstances, could suspend normal democratic processes. These documents outline actions that would fundamentally transform the country. The question becomes not just what has happened, but how far someone could go if they truly wanted absolute control. Welcome to Political Plot, where we cut through the noise to reveal the power plays shaping American politics. Today we're diving into how a determined leader could slowly bend democratic systems toward authoritarian power, using fear, political strategy, and institutional weaknesses to reshape a nation from the inside out. It's a look at how fragile democratic norms can be when ambition meets opportunity. Imagine you are not just an average citizen, but someone with a public profile, maybe a business figure or a minor political player. In the United States, with a military that avoids domestic politics, the only path to power is through elections. So you begin in a state that gives you advantages. Texas for conservatives, California or New York for liberals. You rise slowly, maybe becoming a governor or senator. You attach yourself to a cause people feel has been ignored. History shows that movements lift leaders more than leaders create movements. Orban gained momentum by attacking the old communist order. Erdogan embraced nationalist currents. Chavez rode economic anger. If you can channel frustration into a sense of mission, your identity begins to solidify. But you also need a threat, something your supporters fear enough to keep them close. Political fear has always been a powerful tool. Presidents and lawmakers throughout history have pointed to terrorists, communists, or imagined infiltrators. You can pick any danger as long as it resonates. Once people believe they are under attack, they become loyal to the person who promises protection. You frame yourself as the outsider fighting a corrupt establishment. You criticize bureaucrats, claim the system is rotten, and insist you are the only one willing to confront it. You cannot build a movement outside the two major parties in America, so your strategy is to win one of them from within. If you become the face of a faction, the party eventually bends toward you. Over time, media attention grows. You learn how to provoke coverage, when to be outrageous, and when to act disciplined. If the country enters economic hardship or experiences unrest, you can tell voters that these events prove your warnings correct. Even if you lose one or two presidential attempts, the campaigns build your national network. Fundraising matters, and wealthy donors treat politics like an investment. They support candidates who promise influence, openly or quietly. But money alone does not guarantee success. Candidates like Sanders showed that enthusiasm is not enough without broad momentum. Charisma still matters, especially when you challenge the established order. Modern campaigns rely heavily on street energy. Protests, rallies, counter-protests, and viral confrontation shape national narratives. You want these scenes to amplify your message, and although few admit it publicly, political operations sometimes rely on misinformation, leaks, and digital manipulation. Deepfake videos, mass texting, targeted rumors, and strategic voter roll purges have all become tools in the modern playbook. Elections run on trust. Once that trust is weakened, influence becomes easier. Suppose you finally win the presidency. Once inaugurated, you sit atop an institution with enormous practical power. Recent rulings have expanded presidential immunity for official actions. You cannot be easily prosecuted. Impeachment requires an impossible supermajority. This means that unless your own party turns against you, you are shielded from most consequences. In practice, the presidency is more insulated than many Americans realize. Inside the Oval Office, speed becomes strategic. If you act quickly, your opponents cannot keep up. Your first target is your party. You support primary challengers against disloyal members. After a few defeats, others fall in line. Then you turn to the executive branch. Personnel truly is policy. Agencies are filled with career officials who may resist your agenda. You replace as many as you can with people loyal to you. Even agencies once considered somewhat independent, like the Federal Trade Commission, become vulnerable if courts reinterpret old rules. As long as legal boundaries are unclear, you push them and let the courts respond later. The Department of Justice is the most important piece. A loyal attorney general gives you enormous leverage. If oversight offices inside the FBI are removed or weakened, the agency becomes dependent on your appointees. Any prosecutors who resist can be dismissed. All the while, you maintain the message that hostile forces have infiltrated the government and only you can protect the nation. Controlling public image is vital. Presidents already influence media, but with strategic pressure on mergers or licensing decisions, you can quietly shape what networks prioritize. Most corporations will choose financial gain over political independence. Slowly, coverage bends toward your narrative. As your first term passes, scandals appear and vanish quickly, drowned out by louder headlines. Your real test arrives in the midterms. Normally, the president's party loses ground, but you work to prevent that. Gerrymandering becomes aggressive, voter rolls are trimmed, and activists within state governments quietly reshape election procedures. A government that can adjust outcomes behind the scenes can defy historical trends. Tension rises, protests grow louder, violence becomes more frequent, each side blames the other. Instead of calming the situation, you let it escalate. A public desperate for order becomes more receptive to extreme measures. Federal agents enter demonstrations, targeting your opponents. Evidence, real or fabricated, frames them as foreign-backed subversives. The chaos helps you define yourself as the only person who can restore stability. Meanwhile, you increase pressure on your political rivals. Not the senior figures at first, but charismatic voices who could inspire resistance. You bury them in investigations, smear campaigns, or targeted leaks. You do not eliminate them, but you weaken their ability to rally support. When it is time for re-election, you hold every advantage. The opposition is fractured. A few violent incidents carried out by unstable individuals can be framed as proof that you are right about the nation's danger. Many Americans crave safety more than anything else. If the narrative aligns with fear, you win decisively. A second term with a supportive Congress gives you the legal structure you need. You appoint judges at rapid speed, especially to the Supreme Court. Once the highest court reflects your influence, the military becomes less hesitant, since your actions now appear lawful. This alignment sets the stage for the final transformation. A major national attack or devastating event becomes the catalyst. Footage of destruction spreads non-stop. Panic rises. You declare a national emergency. Those long-prepared emergency directives become your manual. You censor communications, claiming it is necessary to stop misinformation. You impose martial law, overriding normal limits. You detain organizers, activists, and people considered politically dangerous. Surveillance expands sharply. Courts are sidelined. Resistance emerges. Some states may even threaten separation, but rebellion allows you to justify federal force. Once the military concludes that rebellion is a greater threat than your consolidation of power, they fall behind you. And when that happens, only scattered resistance remains, which gradually fades as exhaustion replaces outrage. At that point, the old system is gone. The only remaining question is how long such a government could last before facing its own downfall. And while this scenario sounds dramatic, the deeper question is whether the ingredients for it already exist. Democracies do not collapse all at once. They erode through small steps citizens ignore until the final step feels inevitable. If you think this could never happen, consider how quickly trust and norms have weakened in recent years. Stability is never guaranteed. It depends on people recognizing when the line is being crossed and choosing not to look away.